From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark has a clip from the latest episode of Pods of Potential. I learn about the RuralSTAMINA project with Dr. Peter Dorhout of Iowa State University, and Dustin visits with Shelbi Nederhoff of Nutrien Financial. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, Dustin, as we look at the current situation here in the Midwest, of course, at this time of the growing season, we're oftentimes focused on weather, both for the health of the crops and exactly where the crops are headed as we get towards the back end of the growing season, but also as it relates to the ag marketplace. And here over the next couple of days, it's really going to be a little bit of a snapshot of what we're looking like here at the end of the month. And that is some fluctuating temperatures as we are going to be dealing with extreme heat here in central Iowa today. We're going to have temperatures in the upper 90s. And then right away tomorrow, we will turn around into the 70s. So it's going to be a little bit of a whiplash effect. And that's a similar story for the overall forecast. You know, we're going to have some cooler temperatures for a little bit, and then it's going to heat up again, it sounds like, towards the end of the month. And that's something I'm going to be interested to discuss with Greg McBride of Allendale here in the opening markets.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to have rocky weather supposedly tonight. That is what we're going to have to earn those 70-degree temperatures the hard way here. Mother Nature's not going to make it easy on us. But yeah, I mean, and that's also something you got to be worried about too when you talk about the very vulnerable reproduction time that corn is in right now, because of the fact that, you know, you don't want to see any damage, and we're beyond a place where you can replant anything if the damage hits. And, you know, it's only been 5 years and 11 months today since the derecho came through, and we remember how quickly a good-looking crop can be decimated. And so these are things you got to worry about when you're looking at weather like this. The corn usually is pretty tough and pretty durable, but even if you get some bad stretches of weather in here, I mean, not much can save it if Mother Nature decides to play dirty. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. Of course, we also have the bottlenecks in shipping affecting the markets as well. You know, the Strait of Hormuz, the Black Sea, you know, escalations between the U.S. and Iran again, Ukraine and Russia. It's just a whole host of things. It's a perfect storm, and the weather is still the hottest topic, because obviously it doesn't matter what the world does if we don't get the crops across the finish line and get the crops they're expecting. The markets are going to weigh way more on that than they will on whether or not U.S. and Iran come to an agreement over the Strait of Hormuz.
And then also, of course, we are watching all of the situation in the ag marketplace as it relates to what we saw here this morning with the soybean price going up and some China buys.
Yeah, exactly it. And so it's going to be interesting, and we're going to get more of that information now as you kick things off, talking about those grain markets again with Greg McBride of Allendale.
Joined today by Greg McBride of Allendale for the opening market discussion. Greg, we have green on the screen in the grains. What's happening with the trade today?
Yeah, we've got the markets are reacting to a lot of different inputs right now. So you've got Russia, Ukraine still firing off drones and missiles at each other, but they're now hitting sensitive shipping lanes. There was a ship that was loaded with corn that was hit. You've got the ratcheting up of things between the Iran and the U.S. that had crude up $2 to $3 last night when we first started, so that infuses some excitement. And then looking at the forecast, we've got a little reprieve from some of the heat over the next couple of days here. But then we go back to above normal temperatures. We do have some rain in the 1 to 5 day forecast for most of the I-states, most of the whole portion of the I-states here. 6 to 10 day forecast does look a little bit on the drier side. And the 11 to 15 day, which starts to dip into August, is a little bit on the drier side. There's a few spattering of rain, but that is what people will be looking at. On top of that, and like I said, we've got a lot of inputs here. We've got a rumor from Friday that China was buying about 10 cargoes. They came in, and we got an announcement by the USDA of flash sales for 264,000 tons of beans to China and 110,000 tons of beans to unknown. So we'll assume that's China. That's roughly about 6 or so cargoes at that point. So very good to see that. This is about, given the ending stocks numbers that we've got for beans, this is about the upside that we would expect. Now, obviously, emotion, momentum, and weather will play a factor into how much further we can go. But given the actual fundamentals that we have, this would be about the upside that we would expect.
So, Greg, it's pretty easy to see what's happening there then with the soybeans, with that weather news and then the China news. We oftentimes do see soybeans react to that China news in this same manner. When it comes to the corn side, then, is that mostly tied to the weather?
Yeah, it's you've got some follow going with the beans, but the corn side of things, the funds have gone from very long to a minor short position back to a minor long position. We look at the forecast. The forecast obviously does cool off a little bit. We see some of that rain coming in. I think this is more the momentum side of things. Corn, for its part, given the ending stocks we have, you could see prices reach up to about $5. The problem with that is, and I've said it since we had that last WASDE report, is I just don't know if there's enough juice. You need to see more weather premium pumped into this market if we're going to reach that high. This 475 to 485 feels like more of an attainable spot. We hit 475 and 3/4 in the overnight. We're sitting just a few cents off of that right now. So you're kind of getting up to a good comfort spot on this corn. With that weather, where you've got some rain, you've seen some of the heat roll through, now you're cooling things off. You could be starting to look at that market, maybe trying to find a top here, like I said, maybe the next 5 to 10 cents. The other thing to watch would be the wheat, as they're both feed grains. Wheat can have an impact on corn because corn seldom does its own thing. You do have the Chicago wheat down about 7 cents here this morning. You've got the KC down a couple of cents, and the Minneapolis is sitting around unchanged.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair,
August 13th through the 23rd.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and an Iowa State University research project has been selected for a national award and some funding to go along with it. Riley Smith has more on that right now.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Dr. Peter Dorhout, Vice President for Research at Iowa State University. Peter, great to have you on the network today, and we are talking about a recent announcement of an award, a university-led research initiative to bolster the economic vitality of rural communities, which was one of 12 projects selected for the National Science Foundation's Regional Innovation Engines Awards. That was announced earlier this week. Of course, the program is called RuralSTAMINA, and we will get more into RuralSTAMINA itself later. But first off, what does it mean to be one of the recipients of those awards?
Well, Riley, thanks again for the opportunity to share a little bit more about the project. We're really excited. This has been a long journey over the last few years, engaging a lot of different stakeholders in our region and identifying where there were key opportunities for making some necessary investments in new technologies that would actually help grow the innovation ecosystem here in Iowa and Nebraska. We ultimately centered in on biomanufacturing using biomass and other biomaterials that are grown right here and produced right here in our region. That's a big push at the federal government. There's a strong interest in growing the foundation that we already have here with the ethanol industries and the aviation fuel, among many other things.
So I see that, Rural Stamina stands for Ascending Rural Communities Through Sustainable, Transformative, Advanced Manufacturing, Innovations, and Alliances. Of course, long title, good to have that shorter form to make it a little more memorable, but let's talk about, how this will benefit those rural communities. There has been a lot of need to kind of bring business and bring support over there. So how exactly will Rural Stamina go about that?
Well, we're really focused on helping the agricultural industries move beyond what we would consider to be, say, traditional commodity agriculture by helping to create higher value products from crops and agricultural residues and biomass that's all produced here locally. And by being able to locate in rural communities, smaller businesses, entrepreneurial ventures, and startups, we think that would, by investing there, would ultimately be able to stimulate local economies and provide stamina within those communities.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
Time now to run down those basis numbers for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Monday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Only one elevator making a bid change here to start the week. Let's run them down. ADM Burlington a dime under on corn, $4.41. Soybeans 13 cents under, $12.07. Cargill and Eddyville 20 cents under on corn, $4.31 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona 33 cents under on corn, $4.18. Soybeans 25 cents under, cash bid $11.95. Ag State Sheldon 17 cents under on corn, $4.34. Soybeans 40 cents on the November contract at $11.79. Ag State Elta 29 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.22. Soybeans 35 cents under the November contract at $11.84. Back to August beans for here on out. Cargill Cedar Rapids a dime under on corn, $4.41. Soybeans a nickel over, cash bid $12.25. Five-Star Co-op Nashua 30 cents under on corn, $4.21. Soybeans 30 cents under, $11.90. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 19 cents under on corn. The cash bid there, $4.32. ADM Des Moines, even on soybeans. Their cash price, $12.20. New Co-op Red Oak, 20 cents under on corn, $4.31. Soybeans, 20 cents under. They're at $12 even. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 45 cents under on corn. Cash bid, $4.06. Soybeans, 50 cents under, $11.70. New Co-op Sheraton, 24 cents under on corn, $4.27. Soybeans, 25 cents under. Cash bid, $11.95. Walk-On Feed Ranch, 41 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans, 56 cents under, $11.64. New Co-op Glidden, 31 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.20. Soybeans, 25 cents under at $11.95. Innovative Ag Farley, 38 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans, 53 cents under, cash price $11.67. And finally, Cargill Muscatine, they're 18 cents under on corn at $4.33. Soybeans are 20 cents under at $12 even. Cash, corn, and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your cash, corn, and soybean bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this message.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit after hit after hit with special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart, live.
Iowa Ag Matters, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and Dustin recently had the chance to speak with the team at Nutrien Financial about the ways that farmers need to be creative in trying to make the most out of their return on investment. We have tight margins. What do farmers need to be thinking about during these times? Here's Dustin with more.
We're talking today with Shelbi Nederhoff of Nutrien Financial. Shelbi, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dustin.
So we're talking today about the ag economy. It's no secret times are tough. We talked last year and things were tough enough already the way it was, and it's been kind of gradually becoming more pressure on these farmers. And I guess, first of all, from Nutrien Financial standpoint, we talked, I know, last year about different programs that were available. We talked with up in Canada about some of the programs you guys were unrolling as well. And, you know, talk a little bit about what you guys are seeing here this year as things have just kind of progressed from where they were at a year ago.
Absolutely. So we're pretty much in the same situation we were last year. Depressed commodity prices and continued elevated input prices. So yet again, our customers and our farmers are in a cash flow pinch, and really having to pay attention to what if this crop is costing them to raise. So a lot of discussions right now are being had around fungicide. As we are speaking this morning, there's a plane flying around my house applying it. And a lot of customers are wondering, do I put it on this year? Is it worth it? And across my territory, which I cover Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin, we're dealing with a lot of, different planting dates because we had a wet spring. So already yield may be impacted by some of those things. So a lot of conversations are being had around, will the fungicide preserve yield? What's it going to cost me? And really understanding that bottom line break-even point.
And one thing I know that was talked about last spring and talked about again this spring before planting started with a lot of agronomy people was the fact of, we know that margins are going to be thin. And there are places that are going to be a place where you can think about cutting, but crop protection was a place that you really can't afford to make any cuts, especially when every bushel is going to count.
Absolutely. And last year was the perfect example. We had the southern rust come in, and those that put fungicide on, they really preserved that yield. We, especially here in Iowa, we saw some huge dings on yield last year. So I think as far as the customers I've talked to, we're in similar economic conditions, but they've penciled it out, they've done the work, and preserving those bushels really pays off with that fungicide.
I know the discussions we've had in the last year or so with Nutrien Financial, yourself included, has been the fact that producers were going to have to get creative. And of course, Nutrien Financial was there to help look at some places where some adjustments could be made and maybe look at things from a different perspective. What kind of things are you talking about, especially like you said with fungicide and other aspects, to get the most out of those bushels per acre they're going to get out, but also making sure that the input costs aren't causing a big problem for them?
Absolutely. So at Nutrien, we're very fortunate that we have very skilled crop consultants who can talk very intelligently about plant nutrition, disease, nitrogen management. And then we also have our team of territory managers like myself that can break down all of your costs to a per bushel, per acre, find the right financing programs that fit. So we can do kind of a two-pronged approach. You can work with your crop consultant to see, are there products I could substitute or add in and pare back on my main product and still, not increase overall spend, but get the most bang for my buck? And then I come into the conversation looking at, okay, what products do we have here? What finance programs does Nutrien offer at a low rate that I can push out to pay in maybe December, and give myself some more time to pay that off, market my grain, line more up with the cash flow that the farmer needs.
I guess that's one thing I've noticed with Nutrien Financial, and other ag companies are starting to think about it too. But the fact is, while farmers are having to think outside the box to make every dollar, every bushel count, the financial backing has had to adapt as well, because of the fact that this is not what we would call normal circumstances for farm and for the farm economy. And so you guys have got to be able to adapt to give the farmer breathing room, while at the same time making sure that its business is covered for your companies as well.
Certainly. And we our goal is to not replace any of our customers' bank relationship. We value the local banks and what they do for our customers. Where we really shine is we're an additional source of capital. So they can utilize their operating line for things that we can't cover, like machinery, rent, stuff like that. So we're able to provide capital for the products they're already buying from us. We're able to give them extended due dates. So they have, like I said, they have time to market their grain, take advantage of maybe some premiums in the market depending on the time of year. Low interest rates. So even though they're carrying that balance with us for a little longer, it's not, money costs money. And the interest expense, especially right now where rates are, it can cost you a lot to have money borrowed for a long time. So by borrowing with us, they're able to lower their overall cost to borrow.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through to 23rd.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson. Joined today by Justin McKinney of Comstock for the Midday Market discussion. Justin, we started the day off with green on the screen in the grain side. Has that continued through midday?
Man, we're green across all the screens at the midday here. Corn up 6 3/4 on the September. December's up 7 3/4. Really pushing that 62% retracement at 475. We're at 475.5 right now. Funds continue to look at that corn market and want to be in there. It'll be a pivotal point to close above. If we can close above that, the market sure takes a different tone heading into the big week of pollination coming up here. On the November soybeans, the August soybeans are trading 25.5 higher. November up 27.5. We did have some flash export sales today that I'm sure you guys covered early, but all in all, China was a buyer on the beans again. Colombia came in and bought some corn. And when you're looking at the total weekly inspections, what we shipped last week, 61 million bushels of corn, that was at the upper end of the trading range. Again, these exports have just been phenomenal this year. Cumulative inspections are 3.397 billion bushels. That's 24% above last year and 16% year-over-year increase. 24% above the USDA's projection and 16% year-over-year increase. So all in all, looks really good on the corn export picture. The soybeans were slightly bullish, neutral to bullish at 10.9 million bushels. Not the key time of the year for us to continue to sell many beans with South America harvest in full swing. So all in all, good picture. We got a solid grain market, row crop market here today.
What about on the other side of the markets? What's happening with the livestock trade?
Yeah, sharply higher here on the feeder cattle, $4.92 in the August higher. September up $5.77. Fat cattle trading $1.70 better in the August. October up $2. A lot of rumors going around, circulating right now. We're hoping for maybe some better cash money this week, steady to better. That would go a long ways in feedlots gaining control back of this cash market that was just on a nosedive the last 2 weeks with the heat and the boxes tumbling.
How can our listeners get in touch for more marketing information?
They can call me here at my direct line at 320-589-4345 or on our main line at 712-227-1110.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair.
August 13th through the 23rd.
September corn up 6 3/4 at $4.51.5. August soybeans up 26 cents at $12.30.5. August soybean meal up $5.40 at $3.25.60. August soybean oil down 62 cents at $74.19. On the Merc, August live cattle up $1.53 at $225.95. August feeder cattle up $4.73 at $350.68. August lean hogs down 48 cents at $101.18. Class 3 milk is unchanged at $17.82. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and it's time to get back into that marketplace and look at what's going on with those livestock markets. Triple-digit gains going on in the cattle markets. Mark Magnuson has more.
On the livestock side of the markets, it's been a struggle recently for the cattle side. Is that continuing here today? What are we looking at with the livestock trade?
Yeah, the cattle market has gotten hit pretty hard here the last couple of weeks. It's been You've seen box beef numbers falling off. You've seen cash cattle backing off. Even though the feeder sales out in the country have been phenomenal, you continue to see numbers backing off. We don't necessarily pay as close attention to the screw room situation as we were there for a while. It is still going. It's still something that we are monitoring, but the markets are not necessarily reacting. You've seen Walmart had come in and said that they were going to reduce prices on some of their beef products. We've now seen some others that are kind of following suit. So that's a situation that, as we try to talk about affordability and whatnot, backing off some of these beef prices, even if it's just ground beef, will go a long way to helping the consumer.
And speaking of the struggles we've had on the cattle side, is that something that we have to just kind of buckle up for the foreseeable future unless we were to get a positive bullish news story?
Yeah, I mean, this is taken out pretty well the lows that I thought we would take out when we were more range bound over the last 3 to 6 months. I think you have to kind of expect some big dips and then some big rallies in this market. Like you said, some of this is going to be tied to beef pricing. Some of this is going to be tied to cash pricing, because the packers are not making nearly as much money as they were. In some cases, you could say that they're, depending on how you look at their numbers, you could say that they're actually losing money. But then on the other side of it is the production side is still very bullish. And this is why I think you'll see that there is a kind of a hard line on this that will start to bounce off of here fairly soon. And it's not necessarily that the market's going to turn bullish and go retest the contract highs, but the cattle simply are not out there, and they haven't been out there for quite a while. With us holding the border closed, that's a good amount of cattle that are not coming in from Mexico, and that's been going on for a year and a half. So this is a situation that we'll continue to be to talk about.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Greg McBride of Allendale, my guest here today. Thank you for the time, Greg. Really appreciate it, and have a great week.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks, Mark.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, we are back on Iowa Ag Matters in another segment here now from the latest edition of Pods of Potential, the July episode, talking about some of the crop conditions that we're seeing right now. Mark Magnuson has more with the Iowa Soybean Association.
Today we're talking with Iowa Soybean Association agronomist about what's happening in the field right now. It's, of course, at that point of the growing season, and it's time for a little bit of an update. We're here with our friends at the Iowa Soybean Association's Research Center for Farming Innovations. And I'm joined today by research agronomist Shane Beck and conservation agronomist Brock Webb. You see those first signs of stress when you're out in your field scouting. What's that first step then? Is it to call an agronomist, get in touch and say, hey, I've got this issue. I'm trying to figure out if I need to get ahead of this?
Yeah, I'd say use your resources and give an ISA research agronomist a call, or the conservation agronomy team can always help you with that as well. And just see what your options are, if it's a fungicide or what we need to do, to address those stress concerns.
Shane, same thing I wanted to ask you. What do we need to be looking for in July? Is Brock pretty much on line with what we need to be focusing on?
Yeah, and I would even maybe add to that, like if you need to focus on scouting something, I would focus on my beans, because generally a blanket application to corn generally pays. Blanket applications to soybeans, we've seen, don't pay. So it's about a 1 in 5. Does a blanket application actually provide any return on investment? So if you had to focus more scouting, I would focus on your beans, because that might be a application we could skip and not have to use during the season. But yeah, I would focus looking for disease, insects, and kind of any nutrient deficiencies we see that we could maybe correct as we're going.
Shane, another kind of shifting gears here, but I know you've been working on sulfur on soybeans. Now, we've heard about this in the past. In fact, we've talked about it on the show. Basically, when it comes to sulfur, the thought behind it is that the air's just cleaner now due to the regulations that have been put on cars. There's not as much sulfur in the air that then just falls down to the ground and makes its way to the crops. So farmers then had taken the theory to add that sulfur on to help out. Now, why is this happening, especially for soybeans? Has it been am I on the right track, basically?
Yeah.
And then what have your findings been with this process?
Yeah, so kind of how we got going is there was a fair amount of data coming out of University of Purdue that was looking at sulfur on soybeans, and they were showing pretty decent results from applying sulfur to those soybeans. So kind of got a lot of farmers interested, like, should we be doing more? Is that something that can take our beans to the next level? So what we've done is we've actually got 2 different sulfur trials going right now. One with basically just gypsum on its own, and then another one is calcium sulfate with cover crops to see if the cover crops are kind of tying it up. But so what we're doing is just looking at adding that sulfur to beans. Does it provide us more yield, more return on investment? Unfortunately, so far we haven't seen a lot of results from that. Generally it's kind of been within a bushel or 2, so not a huge return on investment on the sulfur applied to the soybeans. So maybe we're putting out enough with our corn that is carrying over to our soybeans, or maybe we just don't have the right soils. Generally sandy soils are showing more return for sulfur than some of our heavier clay soils do.
That's really interesting. And then it also brings me to the question then of, why do you think Purdue University saw different results? Do you think it came down to the difference in soil type?
I think so. I think a lot of what their data shows is on sandier soil, which makes sense for some of the areas they were testing in.
So is it to the point then where you have enough to say, basically, to a farmer here in Iowa, do you have advice for them then on the sulfur side?
I'd like to see our data from this year, especially on the sulfur ahead of cover crops, but generally I think we might be getting enough sulfur, and maybe our elementals carrying over a little bit more. There are some guys that say they're seeing some results. I'd like to do some strips in there without some sulfur to see if we're seeing the same results, but we haven't seen a whole lot of return on investment from applying sulfur yet.
Yeah. Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, that is going to put the wraps on another edition of Iowa Ag Matters. You can find all of our content online at iowaagnet.com. Thanks to Riley, thanks to Mark, and of course, thanks to you for listening. Have yourself a great day. Stay safe in that last hot day and any storms that could come up. You're listening to the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.